My name is Liz Jordan, and I work for Human Rights First, which is an international human rights organization, non-profit, non-partisan organization based in New York. I work for the Human Rights Defenders Program, and we have adopted a focus on women's issues within a human rights defenders framework, because if women are not able to freely exercise their human rights, then nobody is. So that's why human rights defenders are important to us, because they represent sort of the exercise of larger, more abstract human rights. They're the concrete examples, and the women doing that, you know, are maybe even more important, because they're risking a lot to exercise their human rights.
Well, my name is Monica Aleman. I am from Nicaragua. I am indigenous from the Mosquito people culture, and I feel passionate about this work because I have seen how the lack of understanding about human rights can bring war to countries, and having grown during a time of war in Nicaragua, I have basically taken a decision that I will dedicate myself and invest my energies to try to engage on the work around the defense of women's rights in different parts of the world, but particularly oriented towards the rights of indigenous women. I work for the International Indigenous Womens Forum, which is an international network of indigenous women's organizations and leaders that is trying to bring a gender perspective to the indigenous people movement. Over the last 4 days, we have been quite engaged in the discussions around families, cultures, and communities, because I think that we understand that women do not operate as isolated beings in society, but they belong to families, they belong to communities, and they belong to cultures, and therefore, until we start to understand that we have to address the issues that are decided by those families, that are decided by those communities, we are not really addressing the issues of women. And the last 2 days have been an exercise on going over strategies to identify how we can go back to those families and those communities.
I think this meeting was important because it brings together people who are passionate about the defense of the human rights of women, and women defending human rights from all over the world. You have Monica from Nicaragua, Ruth from Uganda, people from all over who bring their local perspective and their personal experience to their work, but share a common commitment to women's rights and human rights. And I think that is the real takeaway for us, because for me at least, I work on human rights, but I work on it from an office in New York, and to see people who are on the ground making a difference and passionate about defending women's rights, it really sort of brings fresh inspiration to the job.
And for us, I think that I will say the same, but from the other side. I think that it is important that the work of the coalition is about understanding that we play different roles, and that by being together, we add value to the work that either I do at the community or the work that you do at the international level. And I think that that's the interesting and the most value that the coalition can give to defenders, that it provides that space for that dialogue to happen in a very open and transparent way.